On the dusty planet of Orvath 9, far beyond the reaches of most space travelers, a small, lonely alien girl named Lyra wandered through the crowded streets of the spaceport. She was thin and small, her greenish skin scarred from years of neglect. The traders and miners all passed her by, ignoring her or sometimes laughing cruelly at her weak frame. She had no family, no friends, and no one to care for her. Every day was a struggle for food, a struggle for safety, a struggle to survive. Lyra had learned to hide in the shadows, slipping quietly between crates and cargo containers. She watched others trade, fight, and live boldly while she remained invisible. Her stomach ached constantly. Her arms were scratched and bruised. And yet she kept moving, hoping one day someone would see her worth, someone would care, someone would help. That morning, the sun rose over the jagged metal buildings, casting long shadows across the dusty ground. Lyra moved silently along the edge of the port. Searching for scraps from careless traders, she paused near a large cargo hangar, where a group of rough mercenaries were arguing loudly over a stolen crate. Curiosity prickled in her chest, stronger than fear. She crept closer, her small feet making almost no sound. The leader of the mercenaries was tall and muscular, his face cruel and scarred. He waved a metal rod and shouted, "Move that crate, or I'll throw you into space myself." The others scrambled, knocking boxes and tools to the ground. Lyra's heart pounded as she tried to stay hidden. But one careless step made a small clang against a metal pipe, and instantly all eyes turned to her. "Look at this weak little thing," the leader sneered, pointing at her. "She can't even steal her own food." The mercenaries laughed, a harsh, echoing sound that made Lyra shrink back. Her body trembled, and she wanted to disappear into the shadows forever. Fear gripped her chest, and she felt tears sting her eyes. She turned to run, but her foot caught a loose pipe, sending her tumbling into the crates. The crate the mercenaries had been arguing over toppled as well, sparks flying from its damaged edge. Shouts and curses filled the air. Lyra scrambled to her feet, heart racing, wishing she could vanish completely. Then, like a sudden calm in the chaos, a tall figure appeared at the entrance of the hangar. It was a human, tall and strong, dressed simply but with an air of authority that made the mercenaries freeze. He stepped forward slowly. His eyes calm but focused, he raised a hand, and the mercenaries instinctively backed away, unsure whether to attack or flee. The human's gaze fell on Lyra, and for the first time, she saw eyes that did not judge, did not mock, did not fear. "Come with me," the human said softly. His voice steady and kind. Lyra hesitated, frozen. She had never trusted anyone, and every instinct screamed to run. But something in his eyes made her chest tighten with hope. Maybe, just maybe, he was different. The mercenaries muttered threats, waving their weapons, but the human ignored them. He took a slow step forward, then another, reaching his hand toward Lyra. Her small fingers trembled as she hesitated, but then slowly she took his hand. It was warm, steady, and it felt like the first safe thing she had ever touched. As they walked away from the hangar, Lyra looked back, half afraid, half amazed. The mercenaries were shouting, but the human did not look at them. Instead, he looked at her with curiosity and care. "You are worth more than they say," he whispered. Lyra had never heard words like that before, and they made her heart ache with longing. For the first time, she imagined a life where she could matter, where she could be seen. The streets of Orvath 9 seemed less dark as they moved through the crowd. Every face that passed was still indifferent, but Lyra no longer felt invisible. Her mind raced with questions, fear and excitement. Who was this human? Why did he care? Could she really trust him? Little did Lyra know, this simple act of kindness would mark the beginning of a journey she could never imagine. A journey where she would discover strength she never knew she had. A journey where humans and aliens would meet in ways that could change the galaxy. For now, all she could feel was the warmth of a hand that reached for hers, and the faint glimmer of hope that she was finally worth something. And in that moment, under the twin suns of Orvath 9, Lyra took the first step toward a destiny larger than herself. Lyra followed the human through the winding alleys of the spaceport. Her small hand gripped his tightly, afraid to let go but curious about the life that might await her. The crowds parted as if sensing his presence, and Lyra noticed the subtle respect others gave him. He was no ordinary traveler, she realized, and a mix of awe and fear filled her heart. Finally, they arrived at a hidden hangar, far quieter than the busy streets inside. Ships of all shapes and sizes gleamed under dim lights, and tools and machines hummed with energy. The human led her to a small seat and gestured for her to sit. She hesitated but obeyed, glancing around nervously. "Do not be afraid," he said gently. "You're safe here." Lyra looked up, her eyes wide. "Safe?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "For the first time in my life. Someone says that to me." The human nodded, his gaze steady and serious. "My name is Captain Arden, and I need your help," he said. Lyra frowned, confused. "My help? I am nothing," she stammered. He smiled faintly. "Nothing? You are wrong. You have more value than you know." Arden leaned closer and explained the situation. A powerful alien crime lord named Varric controlled parts of Orvath 9. He had enslaved hundreds of alien workers and ruled the planet with fear. Some of these workers were skilled engineers. Others were smart traders, but all were trapped and hopeless. Arden had a plan to stop Varric, but he needed someone small, unnoticed, and clever, someone who could move where others could not. He looked at Lyra, and his eyes seemed to see straight through her. "You have survived here for years unseen and underestimated," he said. "That makes you perfect for this mission." Lyra's stomach twisted with fear and excitement. She had never thought of herself as brave or important. And yet Arden believed in her. He explained that if she helped him, they could free many aliens from slavery and danger. But the task would be dangerous, and failure could mean death. Lyra's hands shook. But something deep inside stirred. For the first time, she felt that she could do more than survive. She could fight for something greater. Arden handed her a small device, glowing softly. "This is a communicator," he explained. "It will let us stay in contact. Trust it, and trust yourself." Lyra nodded, her heart racing. She could barely hold the device in her hands without shaking. "What if I fail?" she asked quietly. "Then we learn and we try again," Arden replied, his voice firm but kind. "No one is born ready, Lyra, but every hero begins with a first step." Over the next hour, Arden showed her maps of the city, routes through the dangerous districts, and details about Varric's guards. Lyra listened carefully. Trying to absorb everything, she felt a mix of fear, excitement, and determination. For the first time, she realized she might matter, that she could make a difference. The thought made her chest tighten with hope. Just as they were about to leave the hangar, a loud alarm echoed through the port. Red lights flashed, and the hum of engines turned into chaos. Lyra froze, her heart pounding. Arden grabbed her hand and whispered, "Stay close. Follow my lead." They darted through the shadows as guards appeared around the hangar. Lyra's small size allowed her to slip between crates and pipes that Arden could not reach. Together they moved silently, avoiding the alarms and searchlights. As they reached a hidden exit, Arden looked at her seriously. "Lyra, today is the first test," he said. "You must prove to yourself that you are more than what they told you. More than what you believed." Her mind raced, thinking of the mercenaries, of the harsh words and loneliness. She tightened her grip on the communicator and nodded. "I will try," she said, her voice trembling but determined. They emerged into the night air of Orvath 9, the twin moons casting silver light on the dusty streets. The port seemed dangerous and vast, but Lyra felt a strange sense of purpose. She was no longer just a forgotten outcast. She had a role, a mission, and a human who believed in her. And though the danger was real, she felt a spark of courage ignite inside her, a spark that could grow into fire if she dared to keep moving. Arden glanced at her and smiled faintly. "You are ready for the first step, Lyra," he said. "And the first step is always the hardest." Lyra took a deep breath, her small body trembling with fear and excitement. She looked toward the dark streets ahead, knowing that beyond them lay danger, adventure, and a chance to change not just her life, but the lives of many. And for the first time, she truly believed that she could be more than nothing. Night had fully fallen over Orvath 9, and the dusty streets glimmered under the cold light of twin moons. Lyra walked closely behind Captain Arden, her small frame barely visible in the shadows. Every step felt heavy with fear and anticipation. The city around them was alive with danger, smugglers, mercenaries, and crime lords controlling the dark alleys. But Arden moved with confidence, guiding her through hidden passages and abandoned buildings. Lyra's heart raced, but she felt a strange thrill in following him. For the first time, she was not hiding. She was part of something greater than herself. Arden stopped near a tall stack of metal containers. "This is the first checkpoint," he whispered. You must slip through the patrols and plant this device inside Varek's warehouse. He handed her a small, glowing cube. It will disable their security for a short time. Just long enough for us to enter. Lyra took it carefully, feeling its warmth in her trembling hands. Her mind screamed with doubt, but she knew she had to try. They crouched low and moved silently across the open street. Shadows stretched long over crates, broken machinery, and abandoned vehicles. A patrol guard passed close by, and Lyra's heart froze. She held her breath as Arden pressed against the wall. The guard's boots clanged on metal, eyes scanning the darkness. Lyra's small body pressed into the corner, almost invisible. When the guard passed, she exhaled quietly, relief flooding her chest. Arden gave her a small nod, and they continued. As they reached the warehouse, the scent of smoke and oil filled the air. Lyra's stomach twisted in nervous anticipation. Inside, Varek's workers toiled under harsh lights, moving crates and assembling strange devices. Some glanced at them suspiciously, but no one dared approach. Lyra's heart pounded as she inched closer to the security panel at the back of the warehouse. Arden whispered instructions, guiding her hands. You have to attach it just right, or the alarm will sound, he warned. Her fingers shook as she placed the device carefully. The soft hum of the cube filled the air. Lights flickered, and for a brief moment, the security systems paused. Arden gave her a quick thumbs up, and Lyra felt a surge of pride. She had done it, she had succeeded. But there was no time to celebrate. Danger was still all around. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind a stack of crates. Lyra froze, heart pounding. A tall guard stepped into the light. Weapon raised, eyes sharp. Arden moved fast, pushing her down just as the guard shouted, "Hey! Who's there?" Lyra's breath caught in her throat, fear gripping every part of her. She wanted to run, to hide, to disappear. But Arden whispered, "Stay still. Follow my lead." Together, they slipped through a narrow vent, barely escaping the guard's notice. Inside the vent, the air was hot and musty. Lyra's small body pressed against the metal walls. Her ears rang with the sounds of the warehouse below, machines and footsteps echoing like thunder. She could feel her heart beating faster than ever. Arden moved beside her, whispering instructions. "Through here, and then down the ladder," he said. Lyra followed carefully, every step testing her courage for the first time. She realized that courage was not the absence of fear. It was moving forward despite it after what felt like an eternity. They reached the ladder leading down into the hidden basement. Arden helped her descend, and she gripped the metal rungs tightly. Below, a secret room held blueprints, crates of supplies, and evidence of Varek's cruel plans. Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief. The things she saw were more terrible than she could have imagined. But she also saw the chance to change it all, to give these aliens hope. Her hands clenched the communicator Arden had given her. She felt a fire inside, determination rising. "Good," Arden whispered. "Now we take what we need and get out before they notice." Lyra moved carefully, copying data from the consoles and securing evidence in small containers. Every second felt heavy with danger. A guard passed the doorway and she froze. The man's shadow fell over the room and she held her breath. When he finally moved on, she exhaled slowly, relief flooding her chest. She had survived, she had contributed. She had taken a step toward becoming someone important. As they prepared to leave, Arden looked at her with quiet pride. "You did well, Lyra," he said. She smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and pride warming her. For the first time, she believed she was more than a forgotten outcast. She was capable, clever, and brave. And though the streets outside would still be dangerous, she now had the courage to face them. Together, they climbed out of the hidden room. Slipping silently into the night, Lyra looked up at the twin moons. A sense of purpose filled her chest. She had been given a chance, and she would not waste it. The shadows of Orvath 9 were no longer just a place to hide. They were a place to grow, to fight, to become someone greater. And for the first time in her life, Lyra felt that maybe, just maybe, she could change the fate of not only herself, but of countless others. The night on Orvath 9 was quiet now, but the air was thick with danger. Lyra walked beside Captain Arden, her small hand gripping his arm tightly. The warehouse mission had been a success, but Arden warned her that the hardest part was yet to come. Varek the crime lord would soon notice the tampering, and he would act quickly. Lyra's stomach twisted with fear, but she felt a strange thrill for the first time. She was not running aimlessly. She was part of a plan, a mission, a fight for justice. Arden led her through narrow alleys, avoiding patrols and security drones. The streets were shadowed and broken, filled with the smell of oil and smoke. Lyra's eyes darted constantly, alert to every movement. She could hear the faint hum of engines, footsteps echoing behind crates and the distant shouts of guards. Her small body moved silently, weaving through shadows, learning to trust her instincts. She felt herself growing, becoming sharper, faster, braver. Suddenly, a loud metallic clang echoed from above. Lyra's heart jumped and she froze. A tall figure appeared, blocking the street ahead. It was one of Varric's lieutenants, armed and cruel, eyes glowing faintly with anger. Going somewhere? The man sneered, voice echoing in the narrow alley. Lyra tried to step back, but Arden placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We can handle this." The lieutenant raised his weapon and a cold beam of light swept the alley. Lyra ducked instinctively, heart racing. Arden moved quickly, grabbing a nearby pipe and swinging it to knock the weapon aside. The lieutenant stumbled but recovered, laughing cruelly. "You think you can interfere with Varric's plans and escape?" he taunted. Lyra felt fear threaten to paralyze her. But Arden whispered, "Now is your chance." "Lyra," she looked around. Noticing the shadows and the small spaces around crates, her mind raced. And she realized she could use her size and speed to their advantage. Taking a deep breath, she darted to the left, slipping between crates faster than the lieutenant could follow. She reached the edge of the alley and hurled a small rock, hitting a metal barrel. The loud clang echoed through the street, and the lieutenant turned toward the sound. Arden nodded at her, and together they ran. Weaving through side streets and shadowed corners, Lyra's heart pounded. But she felt a sense of power she had never known. She was clever, quick and brave, and she had a human who trusted her by her side. They reached a small safe house hidden among old buildings. Inside, the air was dim but safe. Lyra collapsed onto a chair, her body trembling from the adrenaline. Arden knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did well, Lyra," he said, eyes calm and proud. She looked up at him, unsure whether to feel pride or fear. I didn't know I could do that," she whispered. Arden smiled faintly. "Courage is not about knowing you can do it, Lyra. It's about acting even when you are afraid." Lyra took a deep breath, letting the words sink in. She had faced danger, outsmarted a powerful lieutenant, and survived. For the first time she felt a sense of purpose. She was not worthless, she was not invisible. She was becoming someone important, someone who could make a difference. But Arden's expression grew serious, and Lyra noticed a shadow cross his face. "We have little time," he said. "Varric will soon know the security system was disabled. He will send more guards, and they will come looking for us." Lyra's stomach twisted, but she nodded. She had come this far, and she would not turn back now. Arden laid out the next plan. They would infiltrate Varric's main stronghold, a heavily guarded fortress where he kept his most valuable assets and prisoners. Lyra listened carefully, memorizing routes, guards, and hidden entrances. Her small frame and speed made her perfect for scouting and slipping past defenses. For the first time, she realized her size, once seen as weakness, was now a strength. She felt a rush of confidence and determination. Hours passed as they prepared, and the first light of Orvath 9's twin suns began to rise. Lyra stood at the window, looking at the streets below. The city still slept, unaware of the small rebellion forming in the shadows. She clenched her fists, feeling the power of her first true action. She had faced danger, succeeded, and survived, and now she was ready for more. Ready to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. Arden placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You are ready for the first real test, Lyra," he said. Her heart raced, a mixture of fear and excitement. For the first time, she truly understood what it meant to be part of something bigger, something that mattered, and as she nodded silently, she promised herself that she would not fail. Not now, not ever. The first confrontation had passed, but the real battle was ahead, and Lyra, once a forgotten outcast, was ready to step fully into the shadows and face it. The stronghold of Varric rose before Lyra and Captain Arden, a massive fortress of steel and shadows. Its walls were lined with guards, and sharp lights swept the perimeter like mechanical eyes. Lyra's small heart pounded in her chest as she took in the scale of the danger. Everything she had faced before felt small compared to this. The fortress was not just a building. It was a symbol of fear, cruelty, and power, and yet standing beside Arden, She felt a strange courage stir. For the first time, she believed she could face it. Arden crouched beside her, pointing to a hidden tunnel partially covered with debris. "This is our entrance," he whispered. Lyra nodded, trying to steady her breathing. She felt the weight of the mission pressing on her shoulders. Inside, prisoners and innocent workers were counting on them. She had never carried so much responsibility before, and yet she felt alive, her senses sharp, her mind alert. They slipped through the tunnel, moving quietly past shadows and loose metal. Lyra's small size made it easier for her to weave between pipes and narrow passages. Every step was measured, every sound noted. She could hear the distant hum of machinery, the soft shouts of guards, and her own heart beating like a drum. The air was thick with smoke and dust, but she pushed forward, her fear remained. But determination now outweighed it. As they reached a guard post, a sharp voice called out, "Who goes there?" Lyra froze, but Arden whispered, "Move." They slipped into a narrow vent. Barely visible in the dim light, Lyra crawled forward. Feeling the metal walls press against her, she realized that her fear was now a tool, making her alert, making her careful, and she welcomed it. The vent led them directly above the central hall of the stronghold, where Varric himself often appeared. Below, guards patrolled and prisoners were chained. Eyes wide with hopelessness, Lyra's chest tightened as she saw them. So many faces, so many who had suffered. Her determination grew stronger. She would not let fear stop her. She would not let these people remain trapped, Arden whispered instructions. Pointing to patrol routes and gaps in the guard lines, Lyra memorized each detail, knowing that a single mistake could ruin everything. The first test of courage came quickly. A guard turned suddenly, almost spotting them. Lyra held her breath, frozen, her small body pressed against the vent. Silent as a shadow, the guard moved on. And Arden gave her a reassuring nod. "You are learning fast," he said. Lyra felt a small spark of pride for the first time. She believed in her own ability. They descended from the vent and slipped quietly into the hall. Lyra's small fingers worked quickly, unlocking chains and freeing prisoners. She whispered words of comfort, guiding the frightened aliens to hide behind crates. Each step was dangerous, each moment tense. But Lyra moved with care and purpose. She realized that courage was not absence of fear, but action in spite of it, and she had courage now, more than she had ever known. Suddenly, an alarm sounded, red lights flashing through the hall. Varric's guards poured in from every side, weapons raised, eyes full of anger. Lyra's heart leapt, fear threatening to take over. But Arden grabbed her hand, steadying her. "Stay calm," he whispered. Lyra nodded. Tightening her grip on the communicator, she would not let fear control her. Not now, not ever. Using the shadows, Lyra guided the prisoners and Arden through secret exits. She darted between guards, slipping past their notice with small, quick movements. Every second felt like an eternity. Her heart pounded, but her mind was sharp. She felt alive, powerful, important. For the first time, she was more than a shadow, more than a forgotten outcast. She was a fighter, a rescuer, a beacon of hope. As they reached the final exit, Varric himself appeared, tall and menacing. His eyes blazed with fury as he raised a weapon. Lyra froze for a brief second, fear threatening to paralyze her. But then she remembered Arden's words and the faces of the prisoners. She moved quickly, darting between crates, leading the prisoners toward safety. The guards followed, but Arden and Lyra worked together, using clever tactics and speed to outsmart them. Finally, they emerged into the open streets, the first light of Orvath 9's suns breaking the horizon. Lyra collapsed for a moment, breathing hard, but a smile crept onto her face. She had faced the heart of danger and survived. She had freed the prisoners, outsmarted guards, and faced Varric himself. And she had done it with courage, intelligence, and determination. For the first time in her life, she knew she was more than worthless. She was a hero, and her journey had only just begun. Arden placed a hand on her shoulder, eyes proud. "You did well, Lyra," he said. Lyra looked at him, feeling a warmth she had never known. She was no longer a forgotten outcast. She was someone who could make a difference, someone who could change the fate of many. And as she gazed at the rising suns, she felt a fire ignite in her heart, a fire that would carry her through the trials ahead. And she knew deep inside that nothing could stop her now. The twin suns of Orvath 9 rose higher in the sky, casting long shadows over the dusty city streets. Lyra walked beside Captain Arden, every step careful and quiet. Though the fortress mission had succeeded, Arden warned her that the danger was far from over. Varric would not forgive such defiance, and he would strike back with everything at his disposal. Lyra's heart thumped in her chest, a mixture of fear and determination fueling every step. Arden led her to a secluded building on the edge of the city. "This is where we regroup and plan the final move," he said. Lyra nodded, trying to steady her shaking hands. The building was small, dusty, and dimly lit, but it felt safe for the moment. Inside, other rescued workers and aliens whispered quietly. Eyes wide with both hope and fear, Lyra realized that so many depended on them now. Her small body felt heavy with responsibility, but also stronger, braver than she had ever felt. As they prepared supplies and checked their equipment, a sudden noise echoed outside. Metal clanged, boots struck the ground, and a harsh voice called out, "You cannot hide forever." Lyra froze, heart racing. Arden moved quickly to the window, peering outside. "It's Varric," he said quietly. "He's coming for us." Lyra swallowed hard, fear gripping her, but she straightened, determined not to let panic control her. The first wave of guards broke through the doors, weapons raised. Lyra ducked behind crates, holding her breath. Arden whispered, "Stay calm. Follow my lead." She nodded, focusing on every detail, every movement. The room filled with tension as the guards moved closer, their boots heavy on the metal floor. Lyra's mind raced, searching for a way to protect the workers and herself. She noticed a small vent near the corner of the room. "It's a way out," she whispered to Arden. He nodded, signaling her to lead the group. Lyra took a deep breath, pushing aside fear. She guided the workers and herself quietly toward the vent. Every step required precision. Every sound could give them away. She felt a surge of power and courage. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was leading. As they climbed into the vent, a guard noticed movement and shouted. Lyra froze, heart pounding, but Arden raised his hand, and she darted forward, slipping through a narrow passage just in time. The guards fired weapons, sparks flying around her. Lyra's hands shook, but she moved with speed and intelligence. She found herself guiding the group through twists and turns. Every moment tested her courage and skill. Suddenly, the vent opened into a large chamber. Varric himself stood there, massive and menacing, eyes blazing with fury. "You think you can escape me?" he roared. Lyra's chest tightened, fear threatening to paralyze her, but she saw the workers huddled behind crates. Trusting her, her determination surged, stronger than fear. She had come too far to fail now. Arden stepped beside her, weapon ready. Lyra glanced at him, then at Varric, and made a choice. She darted forward, small and fast, slipping between shadows. She threw a smoke device, filling the room with thick gray fog. The guards coughed and stumbled, blinded, giving the group a chance to move. Lyra led them through side passages she had noticed before. Every turn, every shadow, every step required quick thinking and courage. Varric bellowed in anger, sending more guards after them. Lyra's heart raced, but she refused to give up. She moved silently, guiding the group with precision. Her small frame and clever mind made her perfect for the task. She realized her past life, the years of being shunned and ignored, had prepared her for this moment. Every insult, every day of fear had sharpened her instincts, and now she used that strength to save others. Finally, they reached a hidden exit, leading to the open streets beyond the city. The first light of the suns illuminated the path ahead. Lyra felt a wave of relief and triumph. They had escaped the trap, survived the assault, and freed the workers. She glanced at Arden, who nodded with pride. "You were amazing, Lyra," he said. Her chest swelled with pride and courage. For the first time, she truly believed in herself. As the group moved toward safety, Lyra looked back at the fortress, dark and imposing. Varric's shadow loomed behind them, but she knew that his power could not break their spirit. She had faced the heart of danger and survived. She had guided, fought and led, and she had discovered that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome fear. Lyra had transformed from a forgotten outcast into a true hero, and though the final confrontation still awaited, she felt ready, stronger, braver than ever. The first rays of Orvath 9's twin suns lit the dusty horizon. Lyra stood beside Captain Arden, her small figure silhouetted against the rising light. The city below was quiet for the moment, but danger still lingered. Varric's fortress had been challenged, his guards defeated and his prisoners freed. Yet Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The fight for justice and freedom was far from over. Arden turned to her, eyes calm but serious. "You have grown." "Lyra," he said, from a shadow, a forgotten outcast, to someone capable of great courage. Lyra's chest swelled, a mixture of pride and disbelief flooding her. She had never imagined that she could matter, that her actions could save lives, inspire hope and challenge the cruel. For the first time, she truly believed in herself. The freed workers emerged cautiously from hiding, their eyes wide with fear, hope, and gratitude. Lyra stepped forward, her small hands trembling slightly. She spoke softly. "You are safe now, thanks to all of you and Captain Arden." The aliens looked at her with respect and awe. Some bowed, some nodded, and for the first time, Lyra felt the weight of her importance. She was no longer invisible. She was someone who could lead, someone who could protect. Suddenly, a loud alarm sounded from the distance. Varric had noticed the escape and was gathering forces to retaliate. Lyra's stomach twisted with fear, but Arden placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Stay calm," he said. "This is the final test." Lyra nodded, heart pounding. She understood now that fear would always be present, but courage was acting despite the fear. Together they moved through the streets, guiding the workers to a hidden transport. Lyra's small size and sharp instincts allowed her to slip past patrols and obstacles with ease. She felt the thrill of action, the fire of responsibility, and the satisfaction of making a difference. Every step carried the weight of the mission, and she embraced it fully. Her mind was clear, focused on the safety of those she led. Every decision mattered. Every movement could save lives. As they reached the transport, Arden gave a final check. The group climbed aboard, and the engines roared to life. Lyra held the communicator tightly, her eyes scanning the city one last time. Varric's fortress loomed in the distance, dark and imposing, but its power had been broken, its fear challenged. Lyra felt a surge of triumph. She had faced impossible odds, survived and succeeded. The transport lifted off, gliding over the streets and alleys of Orvath 9. The workers cheered softly, relief and hope in their voices. Lyra glanced at Arden, who smiled faintly, eyes proud and warm. "You have done more than you know," he said. Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. For the first time, she understood the true meaning of worth. It was not measured by what others said or by her past. It was measured by courage, actions, and the willingness to fight for what is right. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the city, Lyra felt a strange peace. The fear and shadows that had haunted her for years seemed distant. She had discovered strength she never knew existed. She had found purpose, courage, and a place in a world that once ignored her. For the first time, she felt free, not just from danger but from the chains of doubt and self-hate. Arden turned to her, placing a hand on her shoulder one last time. "You have a bright future ahead," he said. Lyra nodded, a small smile on her face. She had transformed not only in the eyes of others but in her own. She was no longer worthless, invisible, or weak. She was strong, clever, brave, and ready to face whatever came next. As the transport soared above the planet, Lyra looked down at the streets below. The twin suns reflected hope and new beginnings. She felt a surge of pride and determination. The city was still dangerous, and Varric would recover, but she knew that courage and hope could inspire change. Lyra had discovered her place in the galaxy, a place where she could matter, protect, and lead. And in that moment, as Orvath 9 glimmered beneath her, Lyra understood the truth she had longed to hear. She was worth everything. Not because someone said so, but because she chose to fight, to act, to care. The forgotten outcast had become a hero. The small alien girl who once had nothing now held the power to shape her destiny. And with Captain Arden by her side, and the galaxy ahead, she felt ready for the adventures, the battles and the triumphs that awaited her. A new dawn had risen not only over Orvath 9 but in Lyra's heart, and she knew that she would never be the same again.